especially the ballet, and they can say something about it. But thank you again for coming, and a few words have been spoken about this wonderful piano, so thank you, Bob, for buying it, purchasing it, and inviting me to play it. It's been my absolute pleasure to have fun with it. And the piano has changed over the last few months because of the technician that worked so hard. John, thank you. So it's just a very colorful, beautiful instrument, and perfect for this space. I think you'll find it that it reverberates. So today's program, a little bit of a review on this program as we start. So you have your program notes, I think, and we don't have program notes, but we have me talking a little bit about these pieces and presenting them as we go, perhaps helping you look for things to listen for. So where we are, as you see the composers of the program, Beethoven, familiar with him, familiar with Liszt. How many of you are familiar with Florence Price? A few hands going up. I myself wasn't very familiar either, and so I'm really glad that I get to explore a little bit. This is a very short piece, so if you want to hear more of Florence Price, for sure, go listen to her symphony, the one that was played by the Chicago Symphony in the first half of the 1900s, for the first time as an African-American composer, female composer, whose symphony was played. So just a little bit of a snippet of Florence Price on today's program, followed by your own Bob Levins. So it's a very exciting piece. I'm really, really thrilled to play that for you. And then we finish up with this monumental piece, the César Franck Prelude, Chorale and Fugue. So perhaps you have heard of, some of you have heard of Franck? Yeah? Okay, good. Yeah. So you probably think of his symphony or violin sonata as well, and so this particular piece also falls within that category of later works. As you settle in to listen, you'll notice that these pieces are from the time period of these composers' lives when they were becoming more introspective. What do I mean by that? So, Beethoven Opus 101, it's getting up there. Although we say it's a late period for Beethoven, he wasn't that old, right? But it was, his physical balance was not so good, started to deteriorate by the time he was completely deaf when he wrote his sonata. And actually, all the late sonatas, all the 5 late sonatas, 4 more to come after 101, were composed while he was completely deaf. And it's amazing, so inner hearing is that what he relied on to hear. Also, this piece was written right after one key was added to the piano. I play it for you. That's a low E, if anyone wants to know. On the modern piano, we have several more keys, but on Beethoven's piano, this was a new key, and he loved it. He brings it in, bangs it at the end. It's like a little. Listen, I'm stealing this from Andras Schiff's video on this sonata, so credits to him. He said he's playing with an E like a little toy. So you might not hear it, but anyway, that's something new that Beethoven was enjoying, although he couldn't hear that E probably. So the sonata. So sonata, when you hear sonata, you think, okay, multi-movements. You have in your program the movements all in German. Again, he's shifting from the Italian language tempo markings to German as part of ushering in Romanticism, as part of national schools also on the rise a little bit in Europe. Not yet, but soon enough. So, just to translate for those of you who are not fluid gentle. It's a gentle, searching, opening movement, which is very much characteristic of Beethoven. If you think of Beethoven, you think da 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 da, let's get to it. I'm here. This is not like that. This is searching, wandering, meandering, short movement. The second one is a march. Again, very unusual. We are probably expecting a minuet or something. No, he's marching. And the third movement is very short, very, very introspective. He wants the left pedal to be used the whole time. And the left pedal on the piano, what it does, it shifts the keys, and so that not those three strings are played, but only two or one. So it creates a very otherworldly, that's another word I'm stealing from one pianist, András Schiff, talking about this otherworldly effect. After which, again, András Schiff says, wake up call. You'll see, you'll hear, if you're snoozing, I will wake you up at the end. And it's going to be a trill, and then the last movement starts, which is peppy, it's happy, but it's also a form that is unusual for classical literature. It's a fugue. If you have heard of a fugue as a form, you probably associate it with Bach and organ music or even piano music, but it's several times the themes come back, and subject comes back in different sections, different melodies. So I hope you can follow it. I followed the fugue all the way to the end. I'm not quizzing anybody at the end to see where you could find it, but it's pretty haunting. My son, who listened to it many times, can already sing it. I'm not going to make him feel embarrassed, but anyway, so Beethoven 101, please enter his world. the world. So 101. So now go home and listen to 106. I will not play 106. That's called a hammer clavier. And just a monumental piece in 20 minutes, right? It's not 30 minutes, 40-minute piece, but quite a piece. So I hope you enjoyed it. You probably heard the little entrances. Hopefully, if something starts in your mind today, that might be a good thing. So now moving on, traveling on to a very different composer, Franz Liszt. I know you all heard about Franz Liszt. And Hungarian Austrian composer. You might see the letters SZ in his name, just as in my middle name. So, because I'm also Hungarian, so we share that heritage, and just Liszt does not need an introduction. He's a phenomenal composer. This piece, The Consolations, is from a series or a collection of pieces called Consolations, and this is number 3, which is the most beloved. I think you've heard this many, many times. And again, this is the time when Liszt is leaving the concertizing showman, always on the road life behind to create these more introspective, perhaps even religious pieces. We know from his autobiography that towards the end of his life he turned to his faith was Catholicism, I believe, and he was even a lay monk or he sort of entered into an isolation and left the very, the European scene, concert scene behind. So this piece will also reflect that. Some people call it like a Chopin nocturne. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. Well, I have a personal story related to this that I thought I'd tell you. I grew up in Romania. I grew up during communism, and one of the many, many details of communism I won't bore you with, but one of them was that if you were of German nationality, living in Romania, Romanian citizen, Germany, I believe Eastern Germany, was paying the Romanian government to buy the Romanian citizens who were Germans ethnically, buy them. And so they can emigrate to Germany. And my piano teacher, whom I worked on this piece for the first time, he was of German national ethnicity. And I remember him applying for being able to go to Germany. And it took a long time, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of paperwork. You couldn't work while you were waiting, so it was sort of a miserable stage for him. So I still remember he said, "Do you still have a copy of Consolation?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." So he played that, and so yeah, just every time I play this piece, I think of him, and just we all have things that we want to be consoled for. So enjoy. the morning. But I'll let Bob do that. This is a piano arrangement for Adoration, Florence Price. Enjoyed and you listen some more Florence Price. And now our surprise composer, very own Bob Levens. So again, in other programs he wasn't there, so I talked a lot about this piece because I really like it. And just in case you're not going to say, it's fascinating about the barcarola, but I can also touch base on what that is as a genre. So he chose that title. You'll see a lot of barcarolas as Chopin in classical piano literature, barcarola by Chopin, Tchaikovsky barcarolas. Again, it's the music of the Venetian gondoliers. Anyone who went to Venice, you might have heard that tradition that in the past, maybe they still sing, I don't know, but they certainly sang and you kind of hear the splashing of the water. But that's just my take on it. So Bob, if you want to say a few words.
You said most of what I guess I would say about the piece. The inspiration was the boat songs of Mendelssohn and Chopin, although I'm, not in that league. But I had visited Mexico City for the first time in 2023, and it was love at first sight and smell and sound in Mexico City. And when I came back to the United States, I just wanted to be in Mexico City, and I realized the only way I could get this out of the system was, I'm hearing all these tunes in my head, well, just get them out on paper. And so I was sort of inspired. If you've ever been to Mexico City, you know about the canals that are the remnants of the Aztec irrigation system, which are to the south of the city, Xochimilco. And it's sort of a party place now. They take boats around the canals, everybody gets drunk and has a great time. But so the inspiration was of Xochimilco, and hence the Spanish barcarola versus the Venetian barcarola. I will just say that it was so nice of Noémi to agree to play the piece, to give it the light of day, because I personally don't have the technical facility to play the piece. I can write, but I can't play at that level, and just to hear your own music is it's an amazing experience. So thank you, Noémi, for agreeing.
chorale and fugue, and a little bit about César Franck, Belgian-French composer in Paris, most of the time in Paris Conservatory, teaching a lot of the composers that we know, like Vincent Dandy and others. Contemporary of Saint-Saëns, they butt heads a lot. They didn't like each other's music, or should I say, probably Saint-Saëns criticized Franck's music more than the other way around. And there's several stories about that. But Franck was primarily an organist, composer, and has lots of organ pieces, not so much for piano. As a matter of fact, this one is another late piece that was written several years after he didn't compose anything for piano for decades. So then he sits down and plays this, which critics, musicologists agree, sounds very organ-like. So you have to imagine being in a church, but you don't have to imagine very hard, because you are in a church. And it happens to be a beautiful 100-year-old church that we forgive the fact that it's only 100 years. I'm sure that Franck was sitting in churches that were much older than that, but it also the bare walls and the reverberation of acoustics are I think what he had in mind harmonically, because you hear a lot of bell sounds and a lot of different harmonies. Now you'll see it's a cyclical piece, so it starts with a prelude. It's a very searching piece, this prelude. It's harmonically trying to find words going, followed by the chorale. Again, if you've heard of the term chorale, you might think of Johann Sebastian Bach's chorales that he wrote for church services. So almost like a hymn-like tune, very vertical melody and harmonies rolling up in the chorale. And then we're moving on into the fugue again. You'll see this word. Maybe that was the theme for tonight, this evening of fugues. But it's not as thoroughly composed as the one that you heard in Beethoven. However, listen, see how the melodies come back from the chorale at the end, because it's supposed to be overlapping. So we have the fugue theme. It's a very chromatic descending theme that starts at the very beginning of the fugue, and then at the end of the piece, the chorale is juxtaposed over the fugue. It's really, it's the most beautiful writing, I think. And at the end, finally, the searching is over. He finds the beautiful major key, happy, but it's not happy like the Beethoven. It's if you know the difference between happy and joy-filled, it's joy-filled. It's that inner, okay, good one, the good one, the good, whatever good is. And this piece has always been very, very close to my heart because of that. Because I know several composers struggled over their lives and their compositions with all kinds of different things. But it seems like Franck found good in the world and in himself. And so I hope you enjoyed this piece. Thank you. Thank